Adults will not understand this story, but children will, and perhaps those also who are childlike. It happened about 6 years ago when my plane went down in the desert of Sahara, and there I was, stranded, thousands of miles away from the nearest human being, myself and my broken plane, alone in the vast wilderness, with only wind, sand, and stars. That is when it happened. But allow me to start further back. Once, when I was 6 years old, I saw a magnificent picture in a book of a boa constrictor in the act of swallowing an animal. Here is a copy of the drawing. The book said, boa constrictors swallow their prey whole without chewing it. After that, they are not able to move, and they sleep through the 6 months that they need for digestion. Inspired, I created my drawing number 1, and it looked like this. I showed my drawing to the grown-ups and asked whether the drawing frightened them, but they answered,
Frightened? Why should anyone be frightened by a hat?
My drawing was not a picture of a hat. It was a picture of a boa constrictor digesting an elephant. But since the grown-ups were not able to understand it, I drew the inside of the boa constrictor. Grown-ups always need to have things explained. My drawing number 2 looked like this. But the grown-ups said,
I advise you to lay aside your drawings of boa constrictors.
From the inside or the outside?
And devote yourself instead to geography, history, arithmetic, and grammar.
That is why at the age of 6, I gave up what might have been a magnificent career as a painter. Instead, I learned to pilot airplanes. I have flown over many parts of the whole world, and yes, geography has been very useful to me. But although I have lived in a great deal among grown-ups and have seen them close at hand, it hasn't much to prove my opinion of them. Whenever I met one who had seemed to me at least at all clear-sighted, I tried an experiment on him to see if he was a person of understanding. I showed him my drawing number 1, which I have always kept, but he always says,
That is a hat.
Then I would never talk to that person about boa constrictors or stars. Instead, I would bring myself down to his level. I would talk to him about golf and politics and neckties. And the grown-up would be very greatly pleased to have met such a sensible man. So I lived my life alone, without anyone that I could really talk to, until I had the accident with my plane in the desert of Sahara 6 years ago, all alone. It was a question of life or death for me. I had scarcely enough drinking water to last a week. The first night, I settled into sleep in the sand after attempting to fix my plane's broken engine. I was more isolated than a shipwrecked sailor on a raft in the middle of the ocean. Thus, you can imagine my amazement at sunrise when I was awakened by an odd little voice. It said,
If you please, draw me a sheep.
"What?"
Draw me a sheep?
I jumped to my feet, completely thunderstruck, and looked carefully all around me. And I saw a most extraordinary small person who stood there examining me with great seriousness. Here is the best portrait I've been able to make of him. Now, I stood this figure before me. Remember, I had crashed in the desert, 1,000 miles from any inhabited region. And yet, my little man seemed neither to be straying uncertainly, nor to be fainting from fatigue or thirst or fear. At last, I said to him, "What are you doing here?" And in answer he repeated, as if he was speaking of a matter of great consequence,
If you please, draw me a sheep.
Absurd as it might seem, in the middle of the desert and in danger of death, I took out of my pocket a sheet of paper and my fountain pen.
I don't know how to draw.
That doesn't matter. Draw me a sheep. What about this instead?
I showed him my drawing of the boa constrictor from the outside. And I was astounded to hear the little fellow say,
No, no, no. I don't want an elephant inside a boa constrictor. Draw me a sheep. What about this one? No, this sheep is already very sickly. Make me another. Will this do? You see for yourself that this is not a sheep. It's a ram. It has horns. Will this do? This one's already too old. I want a sheep that will live a long time.
By this time, my patience was exhausted because I was in a hurry to start taking apart my plane's engine. So I tossed off this drawing, throwing out as explanation, this is only his box, the sheep is inside. I was surprised to see a light break over the face of my young judge.
This is exactly the way I wanted it. Ah, my gosh. And you know what the best thing is about what you have given me? Is that at night he can use it as his house.
That's a funny thing.
Where I live, everything is very small.
And that is how I made the acquaintance of the little prince.
Where do you come from?
What is that object over there?
Why do you come to be out here all alone?
Are we with each other? What is that object behind us?
Why is it that you ask so many questions but never seem to hear the ones that I ask you?
The object, what is it?
The little prince never let go of a question once he asked it.
That is not an object. It flies. It is an airplane. It is my airplane.
What? You dropped down from the sky?
Yes?
Oh, that's funny.
Now see here, I like my misfortunes to be taken seriously.
So, you too come from the sky. Which one is your planet?
Wait, you mean to say that you come from another planet?
I suppose you couldn't have come from very far on this flying object, although it's very nice.
And with that, the little prince began to study the image of the sheep. But you can imagine how curious I was about other planets.
My little man, where do you come from? Where do you want to take your sheep?
Like I said before, do you know what is so good about what you have given me? The box at night, you can use it as his house.
That is so. And if you're good, I will give you a string too, so that you can tie him to a post during the day.
Tie him? What a strange
But
idea.
if you don't tie him, he'll wander off somewhere and get lost.
But where do you think he would go? Where I live, everything is very small.
Thus, I learned a second fact of great importance, that the little prince, the planet where he came from, was quite small, scarcely any larger than a house. And I have serious reason to believe that the planet is actually an asteroid known as B612. It was seen only through a telescope by a Turkish astronomer in 1909, a gentleman who announced his findings to the International Astronomical Congress. But as he was dressed in Turkish costume, no one believed him.
B612. No.
Grown-ups are strange like that. He later gave a second presentation dressed in elegant European costume of impressive style. And this time, everybody accepted his report.
B612.
Wow, This is a peculiarity of grown-ups and their ways. They always seem to focus on the wrong things. You see, when you have made a new friend, they never ask you about essential matters like, what does his voice sound like? What games does he love best? Does he collect butterflies? Instead, they demand, how old is he? How much does he weigh? How much does his father make? and only from these figures do they think they have learned anything about him. But for those who understand life, figures are a matter of little difference. And so, as proof that the little prince existed, I will tell some of you that he was charming, that he laughed, and that he was looking for a sheep. For the rest of you, I will only impressively say that he came from asteroid B612. As each day in the desert passed, I learned something more about the little prince's planet, his departure from it, his journey, and the catastrophe of the baobabs.
Is it true that sheep eat little bushes?
Yes, that is true.
Ah, I am glad. Then they must also eat baobabs.
Probably not. Baobabs are not little bushes. They are giant trees. Even if you took a whole herd of elephants with you, the herd could not eat up one single baobab.
We would have to stack them one on top of the other. But before the baobabs grow so big, they start out by being very little.
Yes, but why do you want the sheep to eat the little baobabs?
Oh, come. You know as well as I do that good seeds come from good plants and that bad seeds come from bad plants. When the bad ones sprout up, one must destroy them as soon as possible, the very first instant that one recognizes it.
And?
Baobabs are the worst, terrible seeds. It spreads over the entire planet and can bore clear through it with its roots. And if the planet is too small and the baobabs are too many, it tears the planet in pieces.
Oh. Does that happen on your planet?
And of course. And so every morning, after I attend to myself, I must attend to my planet. It is important to regularly pull up all of your baobabs at the very first moment that they can be distinguished from the rose bushes, which they resemble so very closely in their earliest youth. Any other work can be put up till another day, but when it comes to baobabs, waiting always means catastrophe.
I see.
Watch out for baobabs.
For the little prince, although he laughed and was merry, there was also a sadness to his little life, a sort of seriousness that comes along with understanding something important. Bit by bit, I came to see the simple, quiet pleasures which he taught me to value.
I wonder if I'll ever get that plane engine running again.
I am very fond of sunsets. Come, let us go look at a sunset now.
We have to wait.
Wait? Wait for what?
For the sunset. We must wait until it's time.
Time? Oh, sorry. I keep thinking that I'm at home.
Everybody knows that the sunset is always happening somewhere on Earth, because that is how things work. And if we could fly quickly enough over all the globe, we could always be seeing a sunset, over the countryside, beyond the open sea, across the wide savannah. Everybody also knows that on Earth, we are not capable of such things. But on your planet, my little prince, all you need to do is move your chair a few steps. You can see the twilight falling whenever you like.
One day,
You said to me,
I saw the sunset 44 times.
and a little later you added,
You know, one loves a sunset when one is sad.
Were you sad then? On the day you saw the 44 sunsets?
but the little prince made no reply. On the fifth day, it was again thanks to the sheep that a secret of the little prince's life was revealed to me. He spoke abruptly, as if he had been thinking on his question for a very long time.
Do the sheep eat flowers too?
A sheep eats anything it finds.
Even flowers that have thorns?
Yes.
Then the thorns, what use are they?
I don't know.
At that moment, I was very busy trying to unscrew a bolt that had gotten stuck in my engine. I was very much worried, for it was becoming clear to me that the breakdown of my plane was extremely serious. And I had so little drinking water left that I had to fear the worst.
The thorns, what use are they?
Thorns are of no use at all. Flowers have thorns just for spite.
I don't believe you. Flowers are weak and listen to me. Flowers are weak and naive creatures. They reassure themselves the best they can. They believe that their thorns are terrible weapons.
If the boat's still in turn, I'm going to knock it out with a hammer.
And you actually believe that the flowers...
No, I don't believe anything. I answered you with the first thing that came into my head. Don't you see? I'm busy with matters of consequence.
Matters of consequence.
He looked at me there with my hammer in my hand, my fingers black with engine grease, bending down over an object which seemed to him extremely ugly.
You talk just like the grown-ups. I know a planet where there's a red-faced gentleman who has never smelt a flower, has never looked at a star, has never loved anyone. He only adds up figures and says, just like you, I am busy with matters of consequence. Flowers have been growing for millions of years, and for millions of years, sheep have been eating them just the same. And it's not a matter of consequence to try to understand why the flowers go through so much trouble to grow thorns, which are never of any use to them. Is the warfare between the sheep and the flowers not important? Is this not of more consequence than the sum of some fat red gentleman's sums?
Now listen, little prince.
And if I know a unique flower which grows nowhere but on my planet, if the flower that I love is up there somewhere among those millions of stars, it makes me happy just to look at the stars. But that lovely flower, one little sheep could destroy in one single bite without even realizing what he's doing. And if he did, all the stars will be darkened. And you don't think that's important?
He could not say anything more. His words were choked by sobbing. The night had fallen. I had let my tools drop from my hands. Of what matter now was my hammer, my bolt, or thirst or death? On one planet, my planet, the earth, there was a little prince to be comforted. I took him in my arms and rocked him and said to him,
Do not be sad, little prince. The flower you love is not in danger. I will draw you a muzzle for your sheep. I will draw a railing for you to put around your flower. I will.
I did not know what to say to him. I felt awkward and blundering. I did not know how I could reach him and go on hand in hand with him as we had before. It is such a secret place, the land of tears. As to the little flower the little prince spoke of, I would soon learn to know it better.
Please, little prince. I am sorry for speaking harshly. Tell me about your flower.
You really care to know?
I do.
On my planet, flowers are all very simple. Just one ring of petals, hardly taking up any room at all. But one day, in blew the seed of a new flower. At first, I didn't know what she was. You see, I thought she might be a new kind of baobab, but I watched very closely day after day and discovered it was a beautiful new flower.
You must have been very excited.
She was such a particular kind of flower, choosing her colors and adjusting her petals one by one for days and days. She did not wish to go out into the world all rumpled like those field poppies. No, only in the full radiance of her beauty. She was such a flirtatious little creature. Then, one morning at sunrise, she yawned and said, "Oh, how beautiful you are."
I was born at the same moment as the sun.
She was quite vain, not too modest, but how exciting she was. She did torment me quite a bit with her vanity, which was a little difficult to deal with.
Let the tigers come with their claws. Do you see the 4 thorns I have to protect myself?
There are no tigers on my planet. And besides, tigers do not eat weeds.
I am not a weed. I love the tigers, but I have a fear at last. It's over. Will you build a spade for me to block out the draft?
But I thought plants liked fresh air.
At night, I want you to put me under a glass room. It is very cold in here. In the place I come.
She interrupted herself here. She had grown up on my planet, so she couldn't have known any other world. Being embarrassed over having let herself be caught on the verge of such an untruth, she coughed 2 or 3 times just to make sure I knew I was in the wrong. I was just looking for it. She didn't mean any harm. But at first, I felt such goodwill towards this lovely little flower, and then I came to doubt her. It made me very unhappy. I ought not to have listened to her.
One never ought to listen to the flowers. One should simply look at them and breathe their fragrance.
My flower perfumes my whole planet, but I did not know how to understand anything. I ought to have judged her deeds, the wonderful fragrance she offered me, instead of her words, which irritated me. All this big talk of claws, or rather thorns, it should have filled my heart with tenderness and pity. Ah, I should not have run away from her, but I was too young to know how to love her.
And so, overwhelmed by frustration with this little flower, whose behavior he did not understand, he set out away from his small planet. For his escape, I believe he took advantage of the migration of a flock of wild geese. On the morning of his departure, he put his planet in perfect order. He carefully cleaned out his active volcanoes, and I found this so interesting that I'll take a moment to tell you now. The little prince possessed 2 active volcanoes, which he cleaned out daily, and they were very convenient for eating his breakfast in the morning. He also had a 3rd volcano that was extinct, but as he said, one never knows. So he cleaned out the extinct volcano too. The little prince also pulled up the last little shoots of the baobabs. He did so with a sense of dejection, as he believed that he would never want to return. But on this last morning, all these familiar tasks seemed very precious to him. And when he watered the flower for the last time and prepared to place her under the shelter of her glass globe, he realized that he was very close to tears.
Goodbye.
But the rose made no answer.
Goodbye.
This time the flower coughed, but it was not because she had a cold. At last, the flower spoke.
I've been silly. I ask for your forgiveness. Try to be happy.
You mean you actually do care?
Well, I do, of course. I love you. It is my fault that you have not known it at all this way. But you have been just as foolish as I. Try to be happy. The glass cover you got for me, I don't want it anymore.
But the wind.
My cold is not so bad as all that. The cool night air will do me good. I am a flower.
But the animals.
Well, I must endure the presence of 2 or 3 caterpillars if I wish to become acquainted with the butterflies. Besides, since you are leaving, who else except the butterflies and the caterpillars will call upon me?
But the large animals.
I am not afraid of large animals. You see, I have my claws.
Poor little thorns.
Don't think it like this. You have decided to go away.
Only to see the people.
People? I think there are only 6 or 7 of them in existence. But one never knows where to find them. The wind blows them away, they have no roots, and that makes life very difficult for them. But if you have decided to go, then go.
The little prince felt hurt by the flower's sharp tone. He didn't know she only spoke harshly because she did not want him to see her crying. She was such a proud flower. So the little prince left his asteroid, his rose, and his baobabs, and his volcanoes over which he warmed his breakfast, and upon catching a ride with the departing flock of geese, he found himself amid the host of other small planets. These were inhabited by a variety of characters, the first of which, on the first planet, was a king, quite proud and very pleased to have at last found someone to rule over.
There is a subject.
How could you recognize me as a subject when you have never seen me before?
The king's own men's a subject. Approach. Is etiquette to you in the presence of a king? I forbid you to do so.
Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. I've come from a long journey and I've had no sleep.
In that case, I order you to yawn. It has been years since I've seen a yawn. Come, yawn again. It's an order.
No, that frightens me. I cannot anymore.
Then I will order you to yawn sometime. You see how wise I am? Since I am a monarch, I tolerate no disobedience. And since I'm a very good man, I make my demands reasonable. If I order the man...
Sire, may I ask a question?
I order you to answer the question.
Sire, over what do you rule?
Over everything.
Everything? Even the stars?
Of course, they obey me instantly.
How amazing! If I had such complete authority, I could watch the sunset hundreds of times without even having to move my chair. Sire, may I dare ask a favor? I would like to see the sunset. Would you order the sun to set?
Young man, if I ordered a man to change into a seabird, and he did not carry out his order, which one of us would be in the wrong?
You.
The man or myself?
You.
Exactly. One must require from each one the duty which each one can perform. I have the right to require obedience because my orders are reasonable.
Oh, then my sunset.
You shall have your sunset.
When will,
I shall wait until conditions are favorable.
when will that be?
In about 20 minutes. How well I am obeyed.
I do miss my sunset, but I suppose I should take my leave.
Do not go. I will make you the Minister of Justice.
Justice? But there isn't anyone here to judge.
Then you shall judge yourself. The most difficult thing to do.
Yes, but I can judge myself anywhere. I don't have to stay on this planet.
Wait. I believe that there's a right on this planet. If you stay, you can judge this old rat. But you must always spare his life and treat him well. He's the only rat we have.
I think I'll go my way just the same. Best wishes to you and the rat. Perhaps your majesty could order me to be gone promptly, say perhaps in 1 minute. It seems to me conditions are favorable.
He goes.
Your doubts are certainly quite strange.
The little prince took his leave of the first planet, and along the way, he was approached by a merchant.
Good morning.
Good morning. What are you selling today?
These are pills, invented to quench thirst. You only need to swallow 1 pill a week, and you will never feel the need to drink again. With these pills, you will save 53 minutes every week.
And what do I do with those 53 minutes?
Anything you like.
If I had 53 minutes to spend as I liked, I should walk very slowly to a water fountain.
The second planet was inhabited by a vain and conceited man.
Ah, I'm about to receive a visit from an admirer. But then all men admire me.
Good morning. What a strange hat you're wearing.
It is a hat for salutes, to raise and salute when people praise me. Quick, praise me. Clap your hands. People must admire me so much. I am the handsomest, the best dressed, the richest, and the most intelligent man on this planet.
Wait, but you're the only man on this planet.
Do me a favor. Admire me just the same.
The grown-ups are certainly very odd.
The next planet was inhabited by a drunkard. This was a very short visit, but...
This is a play. What are you doing here? And with such a collection of bottles?
Drinking,
What are you drinking?
so that I may forget.
Forget? Forget what?
Forget that I'm ashamed.
Ashamed of what?
Ashamed of drinking.
I will help you. Where shall we begin? Do you want my help?
The fourth planet belonged to a businessman. This man was so occupied that he did not even raise his head to look at his rival.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Your
22
cigarette has
and
gone
6
out.
make 28. I haven't had time to light it again. 26 and 5 make 31. Then that makes 501,622,731.
500 and million what?
Eh, are you still there? 501 million. I cannot stop. I have so much to do. I'm concerned with matters of consequence. 2 and 5 make
500
7.
millions of what?
During the past 54 years
Wow,
that I have inhabited this planet, I have been disturbed only 1, 2, and 3 times. The first time was 22 years ago when some giddy goose fell from goodness knows where.
I know someone who punched the goose. That's probably where he came from.
The second time was terrible commotion. I was disturbed by an attack of rheumatism. I don't get enough exercise.
Oh.
I haven't had much time. And the third time, as I was saying, this is it.
Yes, thank you. but millions of what though?
There will be no peace until I answer you, will there? Millions of those little objects which one sometimes sees in the sky.
Flies?
Little glittering objects.
Fireflies!
No. Little objects far up that set lazy men idle dreaming. As for me, I'm concerned with matters of consequence.
Oh, you mean the stars?
Yes, that is it. The stars.
Ah, and what do you do with 500 million stars?
501,622,000.
And what do you do with all of these stars?
Do nothing. I own them.
You own the stars.
Yes.
But I've already been with the king who...
Kings don't reign. Kings don't own, they reign over. It's a very different matter.
But what good does it do you to own the stars?
It does me the good of being rich. Young man, do you own
Yes.
property?
I own a flower, which I water every day. I own 3 volcanoes, 2 of which are active, and I used to make an induction every morning. Oh, sorry, that's what I call my breakfast. And there's one inactive one, which I clean out every day as well, because one never knows. And I think it's of good use to my flower and to my volcanoes that I own them, but you are of no use to the stars. Your astronomers are extraordinary.
The fifth planet was very strange. It was the smallest planet of all, and there was just enough room on it for a street lamp and a lamplighter.
How curious. So many street lamps somewhere in the heavens on a planet which has no people and not one house. There's a lamplighter over there though. His work means something. When he lights a street lamp, it's as if one more star or one more flower came to life. When he puts out his lamp, the flower or the star go to sleep. That is a beautiful occupation, and because it's beautiful, it is truly useful. Good morning. Why have you just put out your lamp?
Those are the orders. Good morning.
What are the orders?
The orders are that I put out my lamp. Good evening.
But why have you just lighted again?
Those are the orders.
I do not understand.
There's nothing to understand. Orders are orders. Good morning. I'm tired, young chap. In the old days, orders were reasonable.
And the orders haven't changed since then?
The orders have not been changed. That is the tragedy. From year to year, the planet has turned more rapidly, and the orders have not been changed.
Then what?
Nowadays, the planet makes a complete turn every minute. And I no longer have a single second for repose. Once every minute, I have to light my lamp and put it out.
That's very funny. A day only lasts 1 minute on the planet here where you live?
It's not funny at all. While we have been talking together, a month has gone by.
A month?
Yes, a month, 30 minutes, 30 days. Good evening.
You know, you inspire me. You inspire me because you're so faithful to your orders, and you make lamps beautiful. They remind me of my sunsets. I used to sit and watch them simply by pulling out my chair. You know, I can tell you a way that you can rest whenever you want to.
I always want to rest. After all, it is possible for a man to be faithful and lazy at the same time.
Here's what you do. Your planet is so small, you only need to walk along rather slowly when you want to rest. The day will last as long as you like.
That doesn't do me much good.
Oh.
The one thing I love in life is to sleep.
Oh, then you're unlucky.
I am unlucky. Good morning.
That man would have been scorned by all the others, by the king, by the vain man, by the drunkard, by the businessman. Nevertheless, he's the only one of them all who does not seem to me ridiculous. Perhaps it is because he is thinking of something else besides himself. That man was the only one of whom I could have made my friend, but his planet is too small for 2 people. How did he do this? Ah, there we go. I do miss my planet with 1,440 sunsets every day.
The sixth planet was 10 times larger than the last one. It was inhabited by an old gentleman who wrote voluminous books.
Good morning. Whew. Do you mind if I stop here a moment? I've traveled quite a long way.
Ah, you must be an explorer.
Who are you?
I am a geographer.
What's a geographer?
A geographer is a scholar who knows the locations of the seas, the rivers, towns, mountains, and deserts.
That is very interesting. Here at last is a man with a real profession. Your planet is very beautiful.
Indeed.
Has it any oceans?
I couldn't tell you.
Oh. Has it any mountains?
I couldn't tell you that either.
Any towns, rivers, or deserts?
I really couldn't say.
But you're a geographer.
Exactly, but I'm not an explorer. It is not the explorer who goes out to count the landscapes of the world. The geographer is much too important, but explorers go. And then he asks them questions about their travels. If there is any discrepancy, the geographer orders an inquiry into that explorer's moral character.
Why?
Because An explorer who told lies would bring disaster on the books of the geographer. So would an explorer who drank too much.
Why?
Because intoxicated men see double. The geographer then would note down 2 mountains in place where there was only one.
I know someone who would make a terrible explorer.
Most likely. But you come from far away. You are an explorer. Would you please describe your planet?
Well, where I live, it's not very interesting. It's so small. I have 3 volcanoes, two of which are extinct, and the other is not extinct. But one never knows.
One never knows.
I also own a flower.
We don't record flowers.
Why?
Because
the flower is the most beautiful thing on my planet.
Because they are ephemeral.
What does ephemeral mean?
Geography books are most concerned with matters of consequence. It is very rare that a mountain changes its position. It is very rare that an ocean empties itself of its waters. Those things are not ephemeral. We write of eternal things.
What does ephemeral mean?
It means which is in danger of speedy disappearance.
Is my flower in danger of speedy disappearance?
Certainly, it is.
My flower is ephemeral, and she has only 4 thorns to defend herself against the world, and I left her all alone on my planet.
Cheer up, young man. You are an explorer.
My flower, my volcanoes.
Go and visit somewhere else, like the planet Earth. It has a good reputation.
Oh, is that where New Zealand is?
Me.
My little flower says there's nothing better than sunbathing after jumping into the cold ocean. She is such an adventurous little creature. My little flower.
So then, the 7th planet was the Earth. The Earth is not just an ordinary planet. On Earth, one can count hundreds of kings, thousands of geographers, tens of thousands of businessmen, hundreds of thousands of drunk persons and vain people, and millions of grown-ups. To give you an idea of the size of the Earth, I will tell you that before the invention of electricity, it was necessary to maintain a magnificent army of nearly 500,000 lamplighters for the street lamps of the world. Seen from a slight distance, that would make a splendid spectacle. Imagine with me, the Earth as seen from space, or from the Little Prince's planet. The movements of this army of lamplighters would be like a ballet in the opera. First would come the lamplighters of New Zealand, and Australia. Next, the lamplighters of China and Siberia would enter their steps to the dance, and then 2 would be waved back into the wings. After would come the lamplighters of Russia, and the Indies, Africa, Europe, South America, North America, and never would they make a mistake in the order of their entry upon the twinkling stage. It would be magnificent. But while the lamplighters are busy, it's true that men take up a great deal less space than they think they do. When the little prince arrived on Earth, he was very surprised not to see any people. He was beginning to be afraid that he'd come to the wrong planet, when a coil of gold, the color of moonlight, flashed across the sand.
Good evening, Snake.
Good evening, little friend.
What planet is this on which I have landed?
This is the Earth. This is Africa.
Then there are no people on the Earth?
This is the desert. There are no people in the desert. The Earth is very large.
I see. You know, I wonder whether the stars are satellites in heaven, so that one day each one of us may find its own again. Look at my planet. It's over there. Do you see it? Oh, it's right there above us.
Yes.
But how far away it seems.
It is beautiful. What has brought you?
I've been having some terrible difficulties with the flower. Where are all the men? It's terribly lonely in the desert.
It is also lonely among men.
Oh. You're a funny animal. You're no thicker than a finger.
But I'm more powerful than the finger of a king.
You're not very powerful. You don't even have any feet. You cannot even walk.
I can take you further than any ship could. You know, whomever I touch, I send back to the land from whence he came. But you are innocent and true, and you come from a star. You move me to pity, little prince, because you are so weak on this earth made of granite. But I can help you someday. If you grow too homesick for your own planet,
I understand very well what you're saying. But why do you speak in riddles?
I solve them all.
The boy marched slowly across the desert, just the little prince alone with the wind, sand, and stars. He climbed a high mountain and shouted, but he heard no response but his echo.
Hello!
The little prince began to feel very lonely.
At least on my planet, I had a flower.
Next, the little prince came to a garden. He was astonished to find it full of roses, just like his.
Look at this! There are 5,000 of you, all alike. If my flower would see this, she would be very much annoyed. I thought I was rich with a flower that was unique in all of the world, and all I had was a common rose. A common rose and 3 volcanoes which came up to my knees, and one of them perhaps 16 forever. That doesn't make me a very good prince.
It was then that the fox appeared.
Good morning.
Who are you?
I'm a fox.
Will you come and play with me? I'm so unhappy.
I'm afraid I cannot play with you. I'm not tame.
Tame? What does that mean, tame?
You do not live here. What is it that you're looking for?
I'm looking for men. What does that mean, tame?
Men. They have guns. And they hunt. It's very disturbing. They also raise chickens. Are you looking for chickens?
No, I'm not looking for chickens. I'm looking for friends. What does that mean, tame?
It means established ties.
Established ties?
To me, you're like still nothing more than a little boy with just like 100,000 other little boys. I have no need of you, and you have no need of me. You are nothing more than a fox like 100,000 other foxes. But if you tame me, then we shall need each other. To me, you will be unique in all the world. To you, I shall be unique in all the world.
I'm beginning to understand. There is a flower, and I think she has tamed me.
On the earth, one sees all sorts of things.
Oh, but this isn't on Earth.
On the planet?
Yes.
Are there hunters on your planet?
Hunters? No.
Are there any chickens?
No chickens either.
Nothing is perfect. My life is so monotonous. The same thing day after day. I hunt chickens, men hunt me, all just alike, and so on and so forth. But if you tell me,
Are you okay?
if you tell me, it will be as if the sun came to shine in my life. I shall know the sound of a step that will be different from all the others. All the steps and be hurrying back into the ground. Your steps will call like music out of my den. And if you tell me something strange will happen to the world. Look, you see these grain fields down yonder?
Grain field? Oh yes, I see them.
I do not eat bread.
Are you gluten free?
We which will bring me back to the thought of you. And I shall love to listen to the wind in the week, because you will have them.
I see what you mean.
Please tell me.
I would like to, but I don't have much time. I have friends to discover and a great many things to understand.
And you see, one only understands the things that one thinks. Men have no more time to understand anything. They buy things already made in stores. But there's no store anywhere where you can buy friends. And so men have no friends anymore. If you want a friend, pay.
What must I do to tame you?
First, you must be very patient. Go, sit down a little distance from me in the grass. I shall look at you out of the corner of my eye, and you will say nothing. Words are the source of misunderstanding. But if you sit a little closer every day, we shall get used to each other.
It's evening now. Should I come back in the morning?
No, it would be better to come back at the same time tomorrow evening. Because if you always come at the same time, I shall feel happier and happier as that hour approaches. But if you come at just any time, I shall never know at what hour my heart is to be ready to greet you. One must observe the proper rites.
What's a right?
The rite? R-I-T-E.
R-I-T-E.
These are actions too often neglected. They are what makes one day different from another. For example, every Thursday, the hunters go to dance with the village girls. So Thursday is a wonderful day for me. No hunters. I can go anywhere I want. But you see, if the hunters were dancing just at any time, every day would be like every other day. And you never had any vacation at all. I love this.
I love this.
And so the little prince tamed the fox. Every evening the little prince came to the meadow and gradually began to sit closer and closer to the fox, until the two had become friends and quite used to each other's company.
I have something sad to tell you today.
What is that?
I have to leave. It's time for me to depart. But that makes me sad because I will miss you greatly.
I shall cry.
It's your own fault. I never wished you any sort of harm, but you wanted me to tame you.
Yeah, that is so.
But now you're going to cry.
Yes, that is so.
Then it has done you no good at all.
There you go.
Got you.
That's done me good. Because now I love the color of the wheat field. You are unique to me among all of the boys on earth.
Friend Fox, I've told you that on my planet I have a flower. She is a rose, and she is a very proud thing. But she's the only flower I have. On my way here to your meadow, I met a host of other roses, hundreds of them, but they don't belong to anyone. No one had tamed them. No one had made them their friend. And I think the roses were very much embarrassed because they were beautiful, but they were empty. Friend Fox, anyone who walked by those roses would think that they looked just like mine. But she is different because she belongs to me. She is my rose.
Now you understand. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly what is essential is invisible to the eye.
What is essential is invisible to the eye.
It is the time you have wasted for your rose that makes your rose so important.
Yes, it's the time that I wasted for my rose.
Many have forgotten this truth, but you must not forget it. You become responsible forever for what you have done. You are responsible for your rose.
I am responsible for my rose.
It was now the 8th day since I had had my accident in the desert, and I began to be sure I would die of thirst. I decided to ask the little prince if he would for once cease his chatter.
See here, little friend. These memories of yours are very charming, but I have not yet succeeded in repairing my plane. I have nothing more to drink. How I wish for a spring of fresh water.
Do you know what my friend Fox told me?
My dear little man, this no longer has anything to do with the fox.
Why not?
Because I'm about to die of thirst.
But isn't it a good thing to have had a friend, even though you're about to die?
You have no way of guessing the danger, do you? You have never been either hungry or thirsty. A little sunshine is all you need.
You know, now that I think about it, je sois aussi. I'm thirsty too. Let's look for a while.
After we had trudged along for several hours in silence, the darkness fell, and the stars began to come out. Thirst had made me a little feverish, and the little prince became tired. He sat down, and I sat down beside him. After a little silence, he spoke again.
The stars are beautiful because of a flower that I cannot see.
You mean your flower?
Yes, the stars are beautiful because she is up there, somewhere among them.
Yes, that is so.
The desert is beautiful because somewhere it hides a well.
You know, when I was a little boy, I lived in an old house, and legend told us that a treasure was buried inside. No one ever knew how to find it, but somehow it made the house enchanted. I think you're right. What gives things their beauty is something that is invisible.
I'm glad you agree with my Fox.
As the little prince dropped off to sleep, I took him in my arms and set out walking once more. It seemed to me that I was carrying a very fragile treasure. In the moonlight, I looked in at his pale forehead, his closed eyes, his locks of hair that trembled in the wind, and I said to myself, what I see here is nothing but a shadow. What is most important is invisible. I realized that what moves me so deeply about this little prince is his loyalty to a flower, the image of a rose that shines through his whole being like the flame of a lamp, even when he is asleep. I walked on, carrying my fragile burden, and at daybreak, I found the well.
Look, how strange. There's everything is ready for use. The pulley, the bucket, the rope. Do you hear the sound it makes?
That squeaking noise?
No, we awakened the well, and it's singing. And how delicious it is after so long without it.
Too long without.
Men where you live hurry along an express train or raise 5,000 roses in the same garden. Yet they don't realize that what they are looking for could be found in one single rose or in a little water.
They try to look.
But the eyes are blind. One must look with the heart.
You look thoughtful, little friend. Maybe sad. Even with this lovely sunrise and the sand the color of honey. What are you thinking about?
You must keep your promise.
What promise?
You know, the muzzle for my sheep, so it will only eat what it's supposed to. I am responsible for my road.
Ah, yes, your sheep. Let me see if I have a muzzle in my drawings.
Your baobabs are looking a little like cabbages.
I'm so proud of my baobabs.
Perhaps the fox's ears look a little like horns. They're way too long.
You're not fair, little prince. Remember, I only know how to draw boa constrictors from the inside and outside.
Oh, that's all right. Children will understand.
So then I made a pencil sketch of a muzzle, and as I gave it to him, my heart was torn.
You have plans that I do not know about.
You know, my descent to the earth, tomorrow will be its anniversary. I came down very near here, near this very spot.
Then it was not by chance that I first met you here on that morning. A week ago, you were on your way back to the place where you landed.
The little prince didn't answer. He never answered questions, but his young face flushed as if a secret had been found out.
You mean that you're leaving?
But you must work. You must return to your engine. I'll be waiting for you here. come back tomorrow evening.
It's like the lesson of your fox. One runs the risk of weeping a little if one lets himself be tamed.
Besides the well, there was the ruin of an old stone wall. When I came back the next evening, I saw from a distance the little prince sitting on top of the wall with his feet dangling, and I heard him say into the darkness,
Then you don't remember. This isn't the exact spot.
Another voice must have answered him, for he replied to it.
Yes, it's the right day, but it's not the right place. You must wait for me there. I shall be there tonight.
Silence. Then a reply.
You have good poison? You are sure that it will not make me suffer too long? Now go away. I want to go get down from the wall.
I stopped in my tracks, my heart torn asunder, not understanding. Then, as I let my eyes drop to the foot of the wall, I leapt back, for facing the little prince was one of those yellow snakes that takes only 30 seconds to kill you. I began digging into my pocket for my revolver, but as I made the noise, the snake let himself float easily away across the sand in no apparent hurry, and he disappeared with a little light metallic sound among the stones. I reached the wall just in time to catch my little man in my arms. His face was white as snow.
What does all that mean? Why are you talking with snakes?
He only looked at me very gravely and put his arms around my neck. I felt his heart beating like the heart of a dying bird shot with someone's rifle.
I'm glad you have found what was the matter with your engine. Now you can go back home.
How do you know about that? I was just coming to tell you.
I too am going home today. It's much farther. It's much more difficult.
I do not understand. I wish to protect you, but it seems that you're running headlong into an abyss and I can do nothing to save you. It seems as though you are lost, far away.
I have your sheep, I have your sheep's box, and I have your muzzle.
You seem afraid.
I shall be much more afraid this evening.
Little man, you cannot go. I cannot bear the thought of never hearing your laughter anymore. It's like a spring of fresh water in the desert. And I know all too well what the desert is like.
Tonight, it will be a year. My star will be right above this place where I came to the earth a year ago.
No, it's only a bad dream, this affair of the snake and the meeting place and the star.
Do you remember how it is? If you love a flower that lives on a star, it is sweet to look up at the sky at night. All the stars are abloom with flowers.
Yes.
And the water, because of the singing pulley, the rope, and what you gave me to drink, that was like music. You remember how good it was?
Yes.
And with us, the thing that is important is the thing that is not seen. At night, you will look at the stars, and you will look up and you will search for my planet. But where I live, I cannot show you because it is so small. So my star will be just like one of the stars for you. And so you will love all the stars in the heavens. They will all be your friends. And besides, I'm going to leave you a present.
Ah, dear little friend, it is good to hear you laugh.
That is my present. Just that. It will be as if when you drink the water.
What are you trying to say?
All men have the stars. For travelers, they are guides. For scholars, they are problems. For businessmen, they are wealth. For others, they are no more than little lights in the sky. But all these stars are silent. For you alone, the stars will laugh. You will have stars like no one else has them.
What are you trying to say?
I shall be living in one of those stars. In one of them, I shall be laughing. And so, it will be as if all the stars were laughing. When you look up at the sky at night, you, only you, will have stars that laugh. And it will be as if all the stars in the heavens, I have given you a great, and if it would be like this, is that I would have given you 1,000,000 little bells.
Bells. And the stars shall laugh. But little friend, you look so solemn now.
Tonight, do not come.
I shall not leave you.
I tell you not to come because I shall look like I've been suffering. I shall look a little as if I were dying. Do not come to see that.
I shall not leave you.
I also tell you not to come because of the snake. He must not bite you. Snakes are malicious creatures, and this one might bite you just for fun.
I shall not leave you.
Then again, I don't think snakes have enough poison for a second bite.
That night, I did not see him set out on his way. He got away from me without making a sound. When I succeeded in catching up with him, he was walking along with a quick and resolute step. He merely took me by the hand and said to me,
Ah, you are there. But it was wrong of you to come. You will suffer. I shall look as if I were dead. And that will not be true.
Dead?
You understand. It is too far. I cannot carry this body with me. It is too heavy. I will look like an old abandoned shell. And there's nothing sad about old shell.
But so far away.
You know, it will be very nice. I too shall look at the stars. All the stars will be like wells with a rusty pulley. And I shall think of you. All the stars will pour out fresh water for me to drink.
I would gladly give them to you, little prince.
You'll have 500 million little bells, and I shall have 500 million springs of fresh water. And
he said nothing more because he was crying. Finally, he whispered,
here it is. Now, let me go on by myself. The flower, my flower, you know, I'm responsible for her. And she is so weak. She has only 4 thorns of no use at all to protect herself against the whole world.
He took one more step, but I could not move. There was nothing but a flash of yellow close to his ankle, and he remained motionless for an instant. He did not cry out. He only fell as gently as a tree falls. There was not even any sound because of the sand. And now, 6 years have already gone by. I've never told this story until now. The little prince stood right here on this point where I'm standing. That night, 6 years ago, it did appear very much like he had died. The next morning, with my aircraft repaired, I took to the sky and returned home. The companions who met me were amazed to see me alive. I must have seemed sad, but I did not tell them about the little prince. Over time, my sorrow has been comforted a little, but not entirely. I know that the little prince did go back to his planet because I did not find his body at daybreak. And also, at night, when I listen to the stars, it's like the sound of 500 million little bells. But there is something else I cannot forget. When I drew the muzzle for the little prince, I forgot to add the leather strap. He will never have been able to fasten it to his sheep. So now I keep wondering, on his planet, has the sheep eaten the flower? At this thought, all the little bells are changed to tears. Here then is a great mystery. Nothing in the universe can be the same if somewhere a sheep that we've never seen has eaten a rose. Do you understand? Look at the sky. Ask yourselves, has the little prince lost his rose? And you will see how everything changes. No grown-ups will ever understand this, and that is a matter of so much importance. I can only recall with great fondness that our little prince watches very carefully over his sheep and over his rose. And at this thought, all the stars in the sky begin to ring like a million tiny little bells. This drawing to me is the loveliest and saddest landscape in the world. This is the place where the little prince appeared on it and disappeared again. Look at it carefully, so that you will be sure to recognize it in case you travel someday to the African desert. And if you should come upon this spot, please do not hurry on. Wait for a time, exactly under the star. Then, if a little man appears who laughs and who has a golden scarf and who refuses to answer questions, you will know who he is. And if this should happen, please send me word that he has come back.
So we have to call Sarah. Where is she? If she could come. She has been amazingly patient.
Yeah, none of this would have been possible without our help. So we, on behalf of all of us, we wanted to give you this.